the reviewer, the review, the reviewer, the reviewer, the reviewer, the review, the reviewer, the reviewer, the reviewer.
Yeah, motherfuckers. That's so. What's up with these whole ass niggas? The motherfucking Taylor Club up thugs up in here.
What's going on, y'all? The reviewer is here, and I'm back to give y'all this album review of Tear the Club Up Thugs, called CrazyNDaLazDayz. If y'all are unaware of who the Tear the Club Up Thugs were, they was part of 3 6 Mafia, and the pictures you see on here, the guys is Juicy J, Lord Infamous, may he rest in peace, and DJ Paul. Alright, this is their only album that was released under Hypnotize Minds and I think Relativity Records. This came out in 1999, and this was probably one of the most anticipated albums that they came out with. And this is the real deal. Y'all know how I do. And the reason why I said this album was one of the most anticipated albums was because there was a bunch of features that were on this album. I'll go through the list as I go along with the tracks. The producers of this album were DJ Paul and Juicy J, and of course Manny Fresh was part of the producing as well. So I say the features as I go through the songs, like I said. So let's go through the songs now. Here we go with the songs. All right, the first one is called The Last Days. They're just doing a lot of talking crap and all that. The next one is called Who The Crunkest, and this features Project Pat. This song goes in, man, and that beat is pretty crunk.
Who the crunkest in this motherfucker? Folks on the right. Who the crunkest in this motherfucker? People on the left. Who the crunkest in this motherfucker?
The hook is nice. Juicy J come through with a nice verse. DJ Paul come through with a dope verse. And Project Pat comes through with a dope verse. Probably one of my favorite verses from her.
Nicky Nack, Alley-Whack, automatic gecko bus. Some say they down, but they shady, so it clock I trust. That's your bus, if you're in it, man.
And like I said, this song is straight up crunk. The name of the title of the song, speaks for itself. The next one is called Smoked Out. This features Twista. This song was probably one of my favorite cuts off of the album alone. Lord Infamous.
And then I'm blow, I'm smoked out, started out.
And I think he got that hook from a song. I can't remember which song, but I know I heard it before. DJ Paul comes through with a nice verse. Juicy J comes through with a dope verse. Lord come through with that dope flow that he's known for, man. And then Twista comes through with a dope ass verse, man. Just rapping fast like a mug.
Get me going out urban to urban when I swerve to the curb for the derb and the bourbon. Fresh out Erlin, hanging out where they serving. Still got some feelings and we purling.
And did I mention that beat is on point? You know what I'm saying? But he comes through, I'm talking about Twista, he comes through with a dope verse, man. I used to say this verse like crazy. Now it's kind of hard for me to memorize the verse as I haven't listened to it in a while. The next one is called I'm Losing It. This features Lord Infamous. This is his solo track. He comes through with a nice verse, really dark, man. If you listen to this track, you see why I say it. It's pretty dark.
I get focused, I cannot figure this, I think it's hopeless. Medicine man, fill my prescription, give me a stronger dose. I went to the Reverend.
He just coming through saying he losing his mind. And this is when he was known as the Kaiser Soze days. That's what I would normally say. And again, it's really dark. The next one is called Throw Your Sets. This features Crucial Conflict. This is a blazing cut as well from these guys.
If you niggas ain't scared, throw your set, throw 'em up. If you niggas ain't scared, throw your set, throw 'em up. If you...
This is kind of, you can say this is kind of a remake from Throw Your Sets in the Air from the Live By Your Rep EP. And Lord comes through with a dope verse. Juicy J comes through with a nice verse. And then, I can't remember the names on Crucial Conflict. I don't know who raps on each one, but I know it's Kilo, Cold Hard, Never, and another guy, I can't remember. But they all come through with a nice flows on there, rapping fast, on point. DJ Paul comes through with a dope verse. I know the last person rapping is Cold Hard. but he comes through with a nice verse as well. And like I said, this song is straight crunk, you know what I'm saying? And I love the last part of that song too, when they say, throw 'em up, throw your set, throw 'em up, throw 'em up, throw 'em up, throw your set, something like that. It goes hard, man. The track called Undercover Freaks, this features Too Short and T-Rock. T-Rock, you know, raps the hook on the song. This is probably one of my least favorite tracks off of here, but for those that like tracks with this content, I'm sure you'll like it. Favorite verse on there is Juicy J, man. He comes through with a crazy verse.
Undercover on the double, always trying to charge a brother. Coming late like Spackabilly, I kill it, I jack the rubber. Coming from the pit to mid.
The next one is called Wet Party. This features Spice One and M Child. He's not credited on there for some odd reason, but and it's DJ Paul and Juicy J, they rap on here. And if y'all don't know what a wet party is, hear the song. M Child comes through with a dope verse. If y'all know about M Child, man, he is really lyrical, man. That's one thing that he don't get a lot of credit for. He had lyrics for days, man. And Spice One comes through with a dope verse. If y'all know about Spice One, y'all know how he does, man. There's no denying the way he flows on here.
Creeping, put them all asleep and leave them leaking, bleeding, seeking. They stand there heating, I'll be speaking up and tearing up the club.
And that beat is on point. It has that Halloween theme on it. As soon as you hear it, you know what I'm talking about. El Boy Nig, this song is pretty straight. It's not bad. It has some of the same hooks, like
El Boy nigga, I bet you stop, motherfucker stop, motherfucker stop.
the beat, like I said, is pretty solid. Juicy J comes through with a pretty good verse. DJ Paul comes through with a dope verse. Lord comes through with a nice verse. And then Project Pat that's featured, he comes through pretty decent. But overall, it's a solid track. I gotta say the song, Hell No. This is a funny track, man.
Suck my pussy, nigga.
Hell no, fuck you.
Suck my pussy, nigga.
Hell no, fuck you.
And it's a funny song to me, man. And then it has the Get Buck. It has that chant in the background. Lord Infamous, to me, was the star on here, man. He come through with rapping crazy on here. What You Looking For? This features Project Pat. And the beat is pretty hyper, man. Like, if you hear the beat, you know what I'm talking about. You can tell this is a Juicy J track.
What you looking for? What you looking for? What you need? What you looking for? What you looking for? Is it what you need? What you looking for?
Juice comes through with a pretty good verse. Paul comes through with a pretty good verse. Then Lord comes through with that wicked, sinister verse. And then Pat comes through with a pretty dope verse as well. This is probably another one of my favorite verses from him. I've been saying this verse for a while, man. And like I said, the beat is on point. Overall, it's a pretty good track. Then the next one is called Paper Chase. This features Fatal. May he rest in peace. And this beat is pretty good, man. I see what they try to do. They try to like blend it in with the style of Fatal. And he comes through with a pretty good verse. And then Paul and Juice come through with a dope verses. And then Lord comes through with a pretty solid verse. And overall, like I said, this is another nice track from these guys. Then the next one is called Hypnotize Cash Money. This features Hot Boys and Baby, or Birdman. And this beat was produced by Manny Fresh and Paul and Juice as well.
Young boys, I ain't ready for this. Hot boys, done with Tanner Cook. Cody Cal and my dogs running from.
And they did a really good job with this beat, man. The whole Hot Boys, Cheddar Club of Thugs on here, they come through with some really dope verses. BG comes through with a dope verse. Lil Wayne comes through with a fly verse. And keep in mind now, this is when he was young, you know, so Lil Wayne wasn't really cussing like that. Lord comes through with a dope verse, man. And then Turk comes through with a pretty solid verse. Juvenile comes through with a dope verse. Man, he came through with that fly verse.
I'm high to the dome. It's easy, evil approach him. And the head got him. If it was me, I would have smoked him. It's not when snorting.
And then Juice come through with a nice verse. And then Birdman, I ain't really can't say much on that one, but the song is pretty good though. Then the next one I'm gonna go down to When God Calls Time Out. This is another deep track from Lord Infamous. This is his solo song, and he come through with a deep verse saying, what would you do if God calls time out, like if the world ends and all that stuff. It's pretty deep. Then the next one is called Big Business. This is that crunk style right here, man. That the moment that beat kicks in, man, you're gonna be like, oh snap. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it's gonna sound when you hear the beat. Then the hook is fly, it's big business, it's big business. And then Lord comes through with a dope verse. Paul comes through with a nice verse. And then Juicy J, he raps, he rips the heck up out of this song on here, man.
I wanna grab a nigga by his neck, drag him to my fucking set, take the nigga blow, and his cheese and them cigarettes.
And I like the way the beat kind of changes up a little bit towards the end. This is probably one of my personal favorites off of the album. Real talk, man. Push 'em off. I remember hearing this song, and there's a video for this song too, may I add. I remember hearing this song though. When I used to hear this song, I used to love this track, man. But I think I played it so many times that that I got tired of it, you know what I'm saying? But I can still play it. But Lord comes through with a pretty dope verse. DJ Paul comes through with a pretty dope verse. And then Juicy J comes through with a pretty solid verse. And then it just straight crunk from there on to the end. You know what I'm saying? Push them all, push them all, push them all, push them all. Tear it up, tear it up, tear it up. I mean, that's how it goes towards the end. And this is definitely a song that if you play in the club, they'll get crunk, man. They'll get buck. So anyway, the next one is called Slob on My Knob.
Slob on my knob, like corn on the cob. Check in with me and do your job. Lay on the bed.
Now, I know everybody and their mama done heard this song, man. So I don't think I really need to go through this song. You should know it by now. Then the next one is called 666 Clubhouse. Now, if y'all remember this song, I reviewed this on the Prophet Posse Body Parts album.
Picking up the murder scripts of competition for the role in the code of the motherfucking 666 sitcom.
This song is pretty much the same. It has a few different elements, but it's pretty much the same track. A Nig's Worst Downfall. This is a pretty solid track from these guys. This is a pretty dark track, I should say. They're talking about how women can be a man's worst downfall, which I highly agree with.
That's some serious ass shit for all my real niggas out there getting into all kind of bullshit over these motherfucking troublemaking assholes.
And they explain on rapping why that is so. Definitely like DJ Paul verse on here, man, and Lord too. But Juicy J verse is pretty funny. You have to hear it to the end. And then the next one is called Hypnotize Minds / Prophet Posse. This is a posse cut. This features a good bit of people who MC Max, Scam Man, Crunchy Black, Project Pat, and I think that's all I can think of. And Coop, may he rest in peace too. And then the beat is on point. This is probably one of my favorite beats from these guys, man. Coop comes through with a dope, crazy verse, man. And then MC Mac comes through with a dope verse. Then Scam Man does well. And then Lord comes through with that wicked, devilish verse. Crunchy Black did pretty well. Project Pat does pretty good. DJ Paul, I thought was a pretty dope verse. And then Juice comes through with a nice verse. Overall, like I said, it's a pretty nice track, but I love that beat, man. I think it's sampled from one of the older horror movies. That's it. That's all the songs. To rate this out of a 10, I would give this a solid 8.5 out of a 10. This album right here was like on the rise of stardom for 3 6 Mafia. They was already kind of known underground and all that good stuff, but they was on their way to stardom with like going nationwide, like worldwide known status, you know? And there's a bunch of features on this album to prove it. So you have to think of the technology of things back then. You couldn't write verses and rap them and send them through emails like that, not consistently. You had to actually travel to different states and countries for other people to be featured on your album around those times of the 90s. This goes to show how hard working they were trying to get their name out there. I really love this album. This was the first cassette tape that I ever bought when I was a teenager, man. This was back in 1999. And I have to say that this had me anticipated for the next Teddy Club Thugs album. And I guess if you're a Memphis fan or a 3 6 Mafia fan, I would highly recommend hearing this thing out. I think you can hear this on the streams. And they also had another album release of this where they had a bonus CD. And they had like 3-4 bonus tracks on there if you haven't heard them. I won't get into too much details of that. Hear it out, or if you prefer the physical copy, like I prefer, you can get it online. I don't think it's really high of a price right now, but it might be in the future. So, to the whole Teddy Club Up Thugs, and again, rest in peace to Lord Infamous, and rest in peace to Coop, and all the ones that may have been featured on here that may have passed away. All right. Shout out to all the producers and all the features. Much love to the real folks, and I'll be on here back with another review. All right. Peace out, guys.